Welcome to Modern Home Masterminds with beSpoke Brokers. I'm Shawna, Glazier, designated broker and owner.
And I'm Brittainy Williamson, associate broker with beSpoke Real Estate. Shawna and I are beSpoke Real Estate, but we're also your guides to modern luxury across the entire state of Arizona.
Each week, we chat with masterminds shaping the modern spaces. Do you want to get a behind-the-scenes look at your design builds processes? Well, open communication and teamwork will lead you to a successful project.
From architects to builders, designers, and more, let's explore the art of modern living together.
All right, welcome back, listeners. Are you someone who likes to learn about the newest, most cutting-edge design ideas? If so, you're going to want to hear from today's guest, Cavin Costello with RanchMine.
That's right. Cavin is the co-founder and principal architect at RanchMine. He founded RanchMine with his wife, Claire, in 2010. And while they've been in business for 15 years now, they're still kind of the new kids on the block as far as there's some of the younger people in the design build community here in the Valley. But they're highly skilled at what they do, and they've been crafting uniquely designed modern homes, bringing new and fresh ideas to the modern landscape in Arizona, as well as other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. All right, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We love your designs.
Thank you so much.
In fact, we actually just toured. One of the homes that you guys have designed is on the market, and we were able to show it to one of our clients. So it was a really treat to see your home in person.
Nice.
And all right, why don't you tell us a little bit about RanchMine,
Sure.
How you guys started, and how you're doing things a little bit differently.
Sure. So I moved out here in 2009. I got my undergraduate and master's degree in architecture in Northeastern in Boston. And I wanted to change of pace. And so I just packed up my car and moved out here. I'd never been to Phoenix before.
Wow.
I had one friend who was getting transferred here for work, and so decided to move out here together and live here. Day one, I met Claire, my now wife, who was a mutual friend of that friend. That was coming from Colorado.
Do you think you were being set up?
A little bit.
Okay.
So we met, hit it off. We were both unemployed at the time, looking for jobs. This was 2009, so an amazing time to graduate college. So applying to basically every architecture firm that there was nobody hiring. And so while we were doing that, in the meantime, we were just kind of getting to know each other. And I like to get to know where I am, so getting to know the state. So we'd drive around, do little day trips, that kind of stuff. And in that time, we also realized that we could buy a home cheaper than renting. And so we decided to look for homes just 3 months into dating. And we ended up getting a home, 5 digits. It's very inexpensive. And just sort of fixing it up while we were, again, applying to jobs and that kind of stuff. As we kind of did that, we decided, hey, maybe we could turn this into a business. She was considering going to business school, and then was like, well, maybe just do business rather than study business. And so that's when we formed the RanchMine in January 2010. We named it after, while we were traveling around, a lot of what we were seeing were like ranches and mines and that kind of stuff of the history of how Arizona became a state in an economy. And so, and we had also bought a ranch house that we were sort of, we said like, we're kind of mining it for the gem within that house. And so that's where the RanchMine
I love that.
came from. So,
Yeah.
Great.
well, yeah, so that was 2010. And we also wanted a name that wasn't our name. We both had different names at the time and didn't love the idea of a firm that was just about one person or a couple. And so we decided a name that was evocative of the state that we were in. Yeah.
So is she into design as well?
She does. She's always been passionate about it. She didn't study it. She's always been passionate about, especially interior design. And so a lot of our early stuff, she was doing a lot of that. I was doing more of the architecture. But she's always been into business, and that's kind of, she studied English and communication and wanted to potentially run a business. And so it kind of fell into place with our different skill sets.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have a wonderful website with all of your projects, and I was kind of looking through there before because I had never met you. Well, we've met, but just kind of in passing.
Yeah.
So we don't know each other. And I found that your mission to help connect you with nature and each other. I love that. And I want to know kind of what that means to you. Like, how do you bring that into your designs?
Sure. So we sort of stumbled across that in terms of our personal mission is trying to, I think it's something like 90% of our time these days is spent indoors as Americans. and we're getting more and more alone as people. And so we wanted to sort of buck that trend in which, shelter was sort of originally a place to get away from the world, but it wasn't ever meant to be our entire world. And so we thought, well, maybe there's a way to break down that barrier and start connecting back with nature, start bringing people together rather than separating people, which is what a lot of the built environment does now. There's a lot of ways that we do this. It really depends on the client and their personal preferences. But when we design, we start miles out from the site, just really understanding what can we see, what the weather, local weather, all that kind of stuff, views, topography, et cetera, work our way in. And so when we're designing a house or what have you, we're looking site in first. So it's really all designing everything together, the landscape, house, interiors, where there's no artificial break from one to the next thing. So we sort of say internally it's a filter, not a fortress. And so we're trying to filter out what we don't want, whether it's too hot, too cold, dust, critters, et cetera, and let in the things that we want to, and the same from the inside out. And so we're constantly thinking about the different connections to the environment, to people, how we can have spaces that are sort of serene and separate where you can have your own time, but also connect when you want to connect. We've done houses that are 1,800 square feet and have parties of 300 people. And it's just how you use the entire site, right? In terms, so we're really always focusing on connection, both what we want to connect to and what we want to disconnect from. And that's kind of our start of our approach and how it informs that mission.
I love that.
I do too. It's very well thought out.
Thank you.
Can you walk us through your process with your clients? Just from the design, how much input do they have? And like the builders, are they typically bringing builders? Are you recommending builders? Or just what do your processes look like?
Our clients have a ton of input. It's incredibly collaborative. It's not a, hey, this is what you get kind of thing. Because similar to that mission, we need to know what they want to connect to and who they want to connect to design. So it's very upfront. It's about getting to know them.
What if they want to connect to the interiors and not the exteriors?
We can make that happen.
Okay.
And it's, but for us, it's, I think a lot of times the design process I've seen more and more, it goes towards the, people start with almost like the end, what it should look like. We don't start there. That's an outcome. And unfortunately too much is like Pinterest and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, I like this. Where we're trying to get to, okay, what's your personal mission? What do you what's your why essentially, and get to that. We don't directly ask what's your why to them, but there's a variety of questions that we try to get to the purpose behind what they're doing. Because a lot of times people go with the easiest thing, which is like the what of like, I want it to be 4,000 square feet, this many beds, like the statistics and that kind of stuff, right, that you might see in real estate. And that's great. We need to know that information, but there's always something underlying that we want to get to, like, because you don't have to do a custom home, right? Like you can just buy a home. So why are you really doing a custom home? And if we can get to that, that creates sort of the path of which we can make all decisions moving forward. And so that's really where the process starts. And we try to come back to that constantly. And then it's just a back and forth of, we design something, show it to them, get their feedback, and it's, collaborative back and forth. Starting really big picture again, site, real big picture, working our way in from miles away to the pulls on the drawers. And then with builders, the second part of that, sometimes they'll come in with a builder right from the beginning. Sometimes they'll ask for a builder mid project. We actually kind of prefer around that schematic design point, which is kind of like the first to second phase of design. Once we kind of have something on paper so they can kind of see where we're at. Interviewing builders, bringing them in, and ideally they'd be a team member moving forward. But some people do like to design exactly how they want it and then bid it out at the end to a couple different builders. So we have builders that we've probably worked with 50 plus builders at this point. And then we have clients who have friends or families, or maybe they've done their own home or what have you. So we'll work with anyone really.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on the right fit for that client and that project.
Got it. Thanks.
And you're doing landscape as well.
So we do always say, we do, I would say, like schematic landscape. We will work with landscape architects and stuff to refine those ideas, but we sort of consider the entire property from the beginning of the design.
Well, let's talk about some of those properties. I know you sent us quite a few different photos of different properties that you've been working or you've worked on in the past or currently working on. If we could kind of talk through some of them, because some people are going to be able to see this on YouTube and Spotify, but then some people are just listening. So,
and just to interrupt, I recommend anybody who's just listening to go to their website and look at some of these projects. They are very unique and significant to look at. So,
yes,
all right,
for sure. So where should we start? I think maybe let's talk about that ski ranch project.
Sure.
Okay.
Because I assumed ski ranch was going to be maybe in northern Arizona, but it's not.
Yes. Yeah, when we originally got the inquiry too, it was it's actually technically in a place called Arlington, so I assumed Texas. I never heard of Arlington, Arizona. And then it said ski ranch, and I was like, okay. But yeah, it's a developer created a water ski lake in like 2007. Awful timing for that developer. They basically built the entire water ski lake, which has sort of the dimensions of how you would water ski, turnarounds for the boats, etc. Multiple lanes and like 40, 50 home sites. Nothing was built other than the docks, and then it was just abandoned for years and years and years. Some people had purchased property and they did little boat houses on the property, but nobody had built a main residence until our clients came along in 2019, 2020.
Were utilities already there?
Utilities were there. All the infrastructure was there. It was bizarre. The first time I went there, it was kind of like, an apocalypse in terms of like you pull in, it's like a rusty gate and everything is built, but there's nothing there. Tumbleweeds,
it's a ghost town.
It's a ghost town, essentially. And it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's about 45 minutes outside of Phoenix on the way to Gila Bend, plus a couple of roads past there. And these clients, they wanted a part-time residence. They live in Utah, and they're avid water skiers. Grew up in the time when that was really a big thing and so forth, and lived in California, I believe. And so they wanted a relatively small home, basically the smallest that you can do in the community with the guidelines. And so we actually made the boathouse. So there's an existing dock. It all rotted out. So we had to rebuild that and then build the boathouse. We did that first so that they could start using the lake. It holds also a little kitchenette, so they could use that. And then there's a little bunk room in it. So they actually would sleep out in the bunk room, almost like camping in a way. Have their little, it's only, I think, 180 square feet, but it has bunks. It has a little shower, has a kitchenette fully equipped, little sitting area that you can see those images, a little boat dock. And so they would come do that. So we did that first while we were getting the permits and such for the main house. Then the main house is a little bit over 2,000 square feet, 2,100, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And the design is pretty unique. Again, getting back to that sort of why, and they really are into sort of the lifestyle that they want to live. They're triathletes. And so one of the garages has bikes and all that sort of stuff. They also have off-roading vehicles and all this sort of adventure gear. The pool is 8 feet by 88 feet. So they are, it's like Olympic swim lane. So they will literally wake up every day and run and bike and swim. There's a hot tub for afterwards when you need that recovery. And then fire is a big feature. So we have 4 different fire pits throughout the house. It's about gathering together with people. So that's sort of the connecting with each other. And it's a very simple sort of glass and steel pavilion, very low maintenance. Only 40% of the area under roof is indoors.
Wow.
So 60% is outdoors. And so that's sort of that indoor, outdoor, blurring those lines. What do you really need? They're basically there in the spring and the fall because I believe she's a downhill bike instructor and then a ski instructor, so summer and winter in Utah. It's just a very sort of clean, simple thing. It's about the kitchen. It's in the center of the house. They entertain. They have a grill, parrilla from Argentina outside that they had on some of their travels and that kind of stuff. And they cook and eat and exercise and get together with friends. And
do they have neighbors now?
Yes, a couple homes have started to build. It always takes one. We talk about like the pioneer spirit and such as our clients have that sort of mindset of being leaders and pushing the envelope, and they're definitely
Such
belong to that category.
those pictures are so cool.
They are. And I mean, it's a risk, right, to build in this area where nobody else has started building yet.
Yeah. And those are the best kind of clients, honestly, are those pioneers who it's not about what others have done. Mm-hmm. They know themselves, they know what they want, and they come to us, and that's the best for us, is because it's a risk doing custom home anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a one-off. It's never been done before. And so you have to have at least some of that. But then there are some people that I think can see a little bit further.
So let's talk about one that is in a ski area or has snow.
Yes.
So I know you are developing a handful of homes in Pine Canyon, which is in Flagstaff. Can you give us a little bit of detail what you're doing there?
Sure. We're working with Two Hawks Design and Development. They have 8 lots in Pine Canyon that they purchased. I think 7 of them are on one street. That was a new street that was being developed in Pine Canyon. And there are, I think, 3 currently under construction right now, with the others coming. Most of them have been permitted. But yeah, it's a beautiful neighborhood. Flagstaff, of course, is a fantastic retreat from Phoenix in the summer, as well in the winter. And so, yeah, we're excited about
How
this.
are they being easier with the design review in Pine Canyon?
It's been a challenge to do the stuff that we like to do, for sure.
Because they're less modern.
Correct.
Right. Pine Canyon typically wants like cabin.
In a way, yeah. They have some sort of contemporary, what they would call contemporary guidelines. I wouldn't call them contemporary. But it's always difficult in HOAs when there's prescriptive guidelines, because it's basically saying, here's the formula to good design. I don't believe that there is a formula. And so that's just an innate crash of, like,
So
when
you
they
need
say...
to work outside HOAs.
Ideally, I would say that, a majority of the best projects that we've done are outside HOAs. A high majority.
So why don't we talk about the Lumen house?
Sure.
That is an interesting one as well. So very different. This one is a wedding venue?
It's a wedding and event venue in North Carolina, about 45 minutes north of Charlotte. The developer reached out to us. She had been following us for years on social media. Reached out to us in 2021, maybe 2022. Had this vision of what she wanted to do. There's a couple more phases coming, but the first was sort of an event, wedding venue. She had done a ton of research, bought 40 acres of agricultural land outside of Charlotte, and had a vision for this wedding and event venue. And so we kind of came in, refined the vision a bit. She liked the greenhouse. She wanted a greenhouse, but it was originally detached. And we talked about, potentially combining it so that it could be used in a variety of different ways. So we tried to design this venue to be simple, easy to construct. They built it in 8 months, which was fantastic. Wow. And it's probably about 6,000 square feet. I don't remember exactly. And it's flexible in its use. So it could be used as a co-working space during the week. They do photo shoots. They've done yoga retreats. They've done corporate stuff, weddings, etc. So many different ways that they can use it. And it was a fun challenge to take the idea, because prior to that we had pretty much done exclusively residential. So it was a fun to step out of our wheelhouse and do something more commercial.
Beautiful.
It's stunning. You guys, you have to look at these photos.
And then you have some international projects, correct?
Yes, we just finished our first one in Belize on the island called San Pedro Island, which is off the coast of mainland Belize. Really beautiful. Highly recommend people go if they haven't gone.
I went there for my honeymoon.
Oh, nice.
Belize, yeah. We flew into San Pedro. We stayed in we stayed on a private island called Cayo Espanto, but San Pedro was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And very easy to get to from here. And so, the clients had reached out to us about doing that. They had this beautiful property right on the water. It's literally your front yard is the water, which is beautiful. So you just look east. And so they came to us and wanted a main house. There's 2 casitas and then a caretaker suite, and then a boathouse as well on the property. And that was a super, super fun project and what we love about international, even outside of Arizona here, you learn so much stuff from the local people and the local traditions and what they do. Like how they build there is completely different from how we build here. There's basically no large machinery. So that house it looks like it has a thatch roof and that kind of stuff. The thatch is applied. It's all concrete. It's all poured concrete with wheelbarrows.
Wow.
They build up 3 stories on planks.
Which photo should he click on here?
Bottom left. So you can see how tall it gets over there. That's poured concrete up there, and it's on a pitch. And so they form everything. They form everything out, and they build ramps.
Oh, they've put that's crazy.
And they have like 15 guys with wheelbarrows going up and then down, and then up and then down. And then
Oh
up,
my
and then
goodness.
down. And you know, so when we go to these places, the first thing that we do is we see the site and context and all that kind of stuff that we talk about design wise. But we also love to talk with the local builders, and we got to meet the guy who was going to be building it, see some of his construction stuff, and sort of get like what's the toolkit that we have to work with, because it's different in Phoenix than it is in Flagstaff, than it is in North Carolina, and then Belize and so forth. So kind of figure out how they do stuff and then work within that to be able to create something that can actually be built.
Well, and withstand the weather.
And withstand the weather,
Because that would be an issue in some places.
Exactly. So, so they have great ways of doing things. It's different than ours, but it works. And so we learn those and then design to that sort of skill set and stuff. So that was really fun. We just photographed it in November, I think. So we'll be releasing that shortly.
And the other ones that you've done internationally, are they just in the design phase?
Yes. Australia, that was just finished design. We did a couple things in Egypt, which is on pause. And then we did a house that's in Australia. We did a house in Oman that will be breaking ground soon. And that was a really fun one. That's that one right there. It looks a lot like Camelback Mountain, honestly, that it's on. And it's a date farm. It's a very similar climate. So that one, climate-wise, was actually not very difficult to research. It's very, very similar to here, which is cool. But yeah, we love experiencing that stuff, because then we bring it back here and we try to see Phoenix, Sedona, Flagstaff, places that we work through the lens of someone who doesn't live here. Have that sort of exploratory learning ideas, question, challenge what's the way to do things. Maybe there is a better way that we've seen somewhere else, and we try to bring it back and sort of get out of that valley bubble that's easy to fall into of just kind of like everything here is super, super important and there's nowhere else in the world. Like, it's once you widen your perspective, you sort of widen your view, and I think it's super helpful designing that way.
Yeah, I think when we talked with Eddie Jones, that was one of his big things, was travel.
And not only just for design, but just to expand your vision on life and experience the world.
Travel is fantastic. It's also different. I've noticed traveling to create rather than traveling to consume. And so there's sort of a different lens of when you're traveling to a place, knowing that you're going to be doing something there, as opposed to traveling to a place to consume the culture. Both are great. They just have sort of a different lens through which you can kind of see a place. When you go to Belize and you're on the beach, or you're out, scuba diving and stuff, it's very different than when you're like going to construction sites. And,
totally.
Right? And
you're immersing yourself in it in a very different way.
Exactly. They're both great, but it's fun to kind of do both. Yeah.
Well, we noticed that you have a good number of women on your team. In fact, it's almost like 50-50 from what we could see.
Yeah, it is.
And we noticed that because we're a female-owned business, so we actually really enjoy seeing that. What differences do you feel that men and women bring to the art of architecture and design?
I wouldn't say there's necessarily like an overall difference. What we like to have is we've always been pretty much 50-50 plus or minus one, essentially, odd or even numbers. But and we just noticed early on, both being Claire, obviously being a woman, me a man, it's nice to have just different perspectives on things. 50% of the built environment is inhabited by women and 50% by men, so maybe the design should come from that as well.
Yeah.
And so, but they each have their own individual, I wouldn't say like, oh, women are better at this or men are better at this. They all have their different strengths and weaknesses, but we find that with a greater diversity, we have a deeper well to draw from design-wise and experience-wise with that sort of split. And they all also, I believe every one of them is from a different state. So they all grew up in different places. And so we love to have that sort of, those different viewpoints in the world. But yeah, it's great having that balance, I think.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time in our show we do a little rapid fire.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
All right. It's just whatever comes to mind.
Sure.
What's your favorite aspect of designing homes in Arizona?
The landscape, it's just really diverse from, we do here, Sedona and Flagstaff, probably the most common, but just how different it is in that 2 hour span and the different things that we have to deal with is fun and exciting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Being with the kids. You're working around the world in a variety of places during the day, and then you pop in and all of a sudden you're part of Frozen. So you just
roll with it.
You become a king or whomever,
you must have little girls.
You get into they bring you to the present, which is great.
Yes. That's true. Oh, I love that. If Ranch Mine had a signature cocktail, what would it be?
Ooh. Well, I don't drink, so that's a tough. We'll have to come back when Claire comes on. Maybe. I would say, some sort of a coffee then.
Coffee.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
good. What's one outdated design trend you wish would go away?
I've never been into trends. I would say the focus on the end result. I think that sort of needs to go away. I think there's so much focus on stuff and not enough focus on experience. I think any design can be great depending on the location, the person, how it's detailed and crafted. So I don't say like, oh, Spanish colonial is bad or this is bad. They all can be great. Mm-hmm. A Tuscan villa is great in Tuscany.
Yeah.
Is it great here? That's up for the person to decide. But I think just focusing on experiences and people and the moment and that as opposed to collecting stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer. What's one piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring architect?
I think to get out, similar to getting out of the valley bubble, get out of the architecture bubble. Experience the world and different things. I think when you're in architecture school, it's so intense and so focused. I mean, it's 100 hours a week and people are pulling all-nighters and you're just with architects. Mm-hmm. And when people get out, they kind of default to that same social network of architects hanging out with architects or the AIA or whatever it is. It's all architects just getting together to talk about architecture. Being with people, because people are who use the spaces that way. So we need to understand people. So I would say, have passions and hobbies and stuff outside of architecture, and then I think that actually makes you a better designer.
Smart. Can learn how real people live.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Cavin, thank you so much for being on our show. We are going to link all of your contact information in our show notes, but if you would, please tell our listeners where they can find you.
You can find us on social media at RanchMind and on Instagram, and then our website is www.theranchmind.com.
And it is awesome. You have to go visit it.
I agree. Look at your website. All right, that's it for today's episode of Modern Home Mastermind. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, like, and rate.
Thanks to our guest for sharing his insights and to you for learning about everything modern with us.
And if you are ready to take the next step in your real estate journey, please reach out to us at beSpoke Real Estate. And until next time, keep living, loving everything modern.